What is up, people of YouTube? So today I'm gonna try and show y'all about everything you need to get a K-swap running and driving in a EG hatch. Also applies for Acura Integras, kind of for EKs and EFs, but axles and wiring might be a little different. So first off, you're gonna need motor, obviously. I went with the JDM K24A. Honestly, I feel like that's one of the best bang for your bucks. Next to like the K28-2, the Type S, which is really expensive. I got this one online for like $900 from JDM Orlando with 60k miles, and I changed the cam gear, the oil pump, and the manifold. You don't have to, but the manifold, cam gear, and oil pump allow you to go higher RPMs and adjust the tuning a little bit with the 50-degree VTC. Type S oil pump and cam gear, by the way. And then Z3 manifold. RBC manifold, which I'm pretty sure is Z3. And then you're gonna need a tranny. I'm running a K20 Z3 tranny. All stock, nothing done to that. Stock cables running inside to a hybrid racing no cut shifter. Some shifters you have to remove the heater core and run it through here, but this one allows you to run it under the car, and it feels pretty good to me, but might upgrade soon. 6-speed. That's that for the shifter. Fuel pump, forgot about that. I'm running a 225 or pretty sure 255 or 340. It's an AEM fuel pump, I know that, with a 90-degree feeding to the front, which I'll show in a second. I recommend getting a fitting like this one right here, the stock one, which is the banjo type. There it is. Because if you run it like this, the 90-degree, you won't be able to close your little thingy. So then we go up front to where that 90-degree runs to, which is this right here, the fuel filter. Definitely gonna upgrade this soon. This was just to get the car running. Still have a couple parts that I want to upgrade, but this runs to the center feed. You can run it through back here too, on the back, and that goes into here, then returns back to the fuel pressure regulator, and this line goes back to the fuel tank. You want to make sure you have these type of fittings all before fuel pressure regulator. After, you can run these types, like just push in, but these you want to make sure you have these, because it will leak if you don't. That is that for the fuel system. There's multiple ways to run it. This is just how I'm running it though. Seems to work pretty good. That's fuel system. Okay, now we got wiring harness. Wiring by far for this build was the hardest for me. Homies had to help me out with the wiring. So what we got in here is a 02 to 04 auto core ECU from Jason Water Tuning. You just message him on Facebook, he'll send you an ECU with it chipped already. And I'm running a 02 to 04 R6 Type S harness that goes to the engine. These two plugs are from the harness, and this one is from the conversion harness. And then you got the main big plug from the conversion harness into the 02 to 04 Type S harness. What you're gonna need to do for the conversion harness is wire in these three right here, which One's fuel pump, one's check engine light, and I think the other one's like, I forgot, to be honest. But you wire those 3 in, you can solder them, pinch them like that. And all this, I mean, you could remove it, I think. I'm not too sure. But we left that in there. That's all like the stock stuff from the single cam motor. And if you're running a K20 Z3 trans, you're going to need a vehicle speed sensor converter. Or you can change the speedo gear in the trans, which seems more work for me. So I went with this cheaper alternative, and you won't have to mess with the tranny. This just solders into your 02 to 04 harness, which one is a ground, power, and then input and output. And that's pretty simple. It's not too bad. I think that's it for it in here on this side. Going to have 2 plugins from the conversion harness running inside the firewall, and they're going to, you can put them in here or run them right here. You're going to take out the 2 old plugs and plug in these 2 from the conversion harness, and that's it for the conversion harness. Now the main harness, if you have a K24, most of it is plug and play. If you have a 02 to 04 Type S harness, there are going to be a few plugs that you will need to need jumper harnesses for, like this one right here. Let's see if I can get it. This one, K20 to K24 jumper harness for your crank position sensor. And if you're running a K20 Z3 trans with Type S harness, you also need this jumper harness. The regular 02 one comes back there, but the Z3 one's plugging up here and it won't reach. Then also, if you're running a JDM K24, you will need to change your water pump housing. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure if it's mandatory, but the parts are obviously not going to be from here, and it's going to take longer for them to get here, you know. So I'd recommend, and what most people do, is switch it to a A3, A2 water pump housing. Seems to work pretty good. Oh my god. Ambulance passed by, my bad, but gonna need to change this to a A2 to A3 water pump housing if you're running a JDM K24A motor, because the housing is different and some of this won't line up with some other parts, and it's just easier if you just switch it out completely. Also gonna need a A3 idler pulley. You just unbolt the old one and put this one in, and that's about it for that. Everything else just goes right on. Put the belt on and you're chilling on that. It's also adjustable. Another thing is motor mounts. You can go with Hasports, or I forgot what the other one is. Innovation or some shit, I don't know. These work fine for what they are. They're eBay mounts, $200. Eventually gonna go with Hasport because these are a bit shaky, but they do for now. I wanted to get the car running, so that's it for mounts. You're also gonna need to cut the hood a little bit, depending if you're running Hasports or not. You could use the lower or higher setting, but you're gonna need to cut the hood, maybe. I had to use hood raisers as well because the way the mounts are, sits really high, so I had to get hood raisers and cut the hood a little bit, but other than that, it closes good. So that's it for mounts. And headers, got some 1320 headers from eBay. They work pretty good. 3-inch piping. Eventually gonna get my whole exhaust on. Right now it's open headers, pretty loud. gonna slap this motherfucker on soon. And for these type of headers, I think there's two pieces to them. You can run one piece from up top. Fuck, I forgot, to be honest. You run this piece from the bottom and put it in, and then you're gonna need to attach the other part on after, unless your car's like, unless you got like one of them big ass lifts, then you can put on the whole thing together. Excuse me. That's it for headers. And just make sure they're made for your chassis, or they might not fit. Tough, very tight fit back there. So that is it for headers. Fuel pump, I mean, what's it called? Your fuel rail. My bad, I'm fucking tripping. Fuel rail, you can run stock fuel rail with a returnless system. There's that on the fuel rail. Then your manifold, you can run the stock one with the stock port, and it will be fine with that. I decided to go with the RBC manifold because I wanted that extra horsepower, you already know. And I also cut the manifold. Me and my homies, my brother, we cut it, and we ran a coolant adapter, which this allows you to do is take this off without having to bleed your coolant again. And then this port too, you can just run the stock one, but mine was broken from when I got it from JDM Orlando, so went ahead and just got another one. And if you're not running heat, you can just loop this bottom one that runs from the thermostat housing back to this port right here. Or if it's you got heat, this one goes to the right side and this one goes to the left side. But most of the 02 to 04 stuff just plugs straight in. Coil packs, injectors, these two cam position sensors, all these tranny ones plug straight in. Your variable valve timing, most of that is plug and play. There's only just a few, which is that one, and if you're running K20Z3, this one. For your charge harness, you can make a custom one and like do custom wiring, but I just went with the OEM harness, and all that's just hidden down there. It comes with, I think the JDM motor comes with a female plug from the harness, and so does the a stock harness has a female plug, so they won't plug in. You're gonna need to find a male and female plug that work and solder that in. But if you can, just try and get a female to male already done, or else the soldering might mess up. That plugs into there, alternator plug, ground for that, your starter connection, and your ground for that. And then my homie ran it down here to the battery. Got your ground battery, and then your two starter and alternator. And that's about it for your charge harness. Now we got your axles. I recommend just getting some aftermarket axles, which allow you to, where something won't go wrong, most likely, because you can run 02 to 04 base model axles, but there is a chance that your passenger side will pop out. What you can do is run a spacer on the inside of here. One of my homies gave me this trick, and he's still been running it for, like, his car's been running for 2 years, and stock axles, no problem. I think it's my alignment, or shitty suspension, I'm not sure, but mine gave out like after 2 months of running stock axles. So I just went ahead and bought some insane shafts, and seem to be holding up pretty good. That's that for axles. And let me see if I can find one of them spacers real quick. Can't find it, but it's a 1/8 spacer with a big enough hole to allow the axle to go through, and small enough to where it's not like it won't go in like and sit flush. So that's that for axles. For your manifold, I mean your intake, you can just run a 90-degree and a filter. You can just get 90-degree from, I think, Home Depot or like any type of parts store. Just a 3-inch 90-degree, and then don't forget your intake air temperature sensor. Just drill that in. But I went with the hybrid racing because I really like the look of it. It's pretty slick. That's it for the intake. There's a little mount down there so the filter won't be jumping around and stuff. Also gonna need, don't get these two mixed up, your TPS and MAP. Always remember that your TPS wire, the middle one, is always black and red. So if you get these mixed up, there's a chance that your MAP sensor will take a shit. And this one's just a spare to cover it up, but I need to get the cover plate. Still haven't gotten that. Also got your brake booster hose. Just runs straight to your brake booster. I think my homie did this. You have to like rotate this, or I'm not sure if this is stock, but I'm pretty sure he rotated this so it could work with the K-swap. Also, if you don't have this fitting, you can run it on this adapter, your brake booster to there, and that'll work just fine. Next is your cooling. You can use a stock, you can literally use a stock single jingle radiator, one like this. It'll work just fine. It just might run a little hot, and especially if you're like in hotter states, it might get to like the 190s. But you can use stock radiator. All you gotta do is just switch it to this side instead of it being on this side. You can get your hoses from AutoZone most likely, and the stock single cam radiator hose will work for the bottom hose. This one you can find out O'Reilly's. I had one, but I also had this one, and I just like the look of it more. So that's that for the radiator. You can mount it onto the stock radiator core support. I took mine out though because my frame is bent and it was all crashed, so I just took that out and put in the traction bar. I also recommend the traction bar. Helps with obviously traction and wheel hop, so that's pretty neat too. It'll help out with that. And you're most likely gonna need a spall fan, or like any type of skinny fan, because the stock fan will be hitting right here. Just barely enough clearance right there, and that fan is pretty good. Spall's pretty good. eBay fans work too, but they'll probably give out like eventually. So yeah, that's that for the radiator. Also, I got one of these K-Tune thermostat swivel necks because I had an eBay one and it just did not work out good at all. And so I got one of these and it hasn't been leaking since. It's also adjustable, so like you can put the angle up or like left, wherever your hose needs to be. So that's that for that. You can use the stock one, it works just fine. You're just gonna have to get the hose to go on that specific spot. So that's that for cooling. I think that's about everything. So let me know if y'all got any questions. I'll try and answer them in the comments. Try and help anyone out that I can. But yeah, guys, that is it for the video today. I'm gonna do a little start. Yes, I'm barefoot. Low on gas, kind of, fuck it. Also recommend getting a air to fuel ratio gauge so your tuner can tune it easier. And I'm low-key missing my oil pressure gauge, which I'm gonna get soon, but that's that. Idle's pretty low. I still need to adjust my idle a little bit. You can hear, you can see how shaky it is with these mounts. At low RPMs, it's really shaky. Don't forget your grounds as well. You're gonna want one on the tranny going to anywhere bare metal onto the chassis, and my valve cover one that's supposed to be right here, running it on the tranny as well. There's 2 grounds right there, and then you got 1 ground right here going to right here, and then your battery ground. Those are your grounds. You can run them on the stock one right there, use those 2 and 1 up there, and that should work. I think if you don't have no grounds, the car will be weak, like it won't want to start on you. And then what else? I don't know. This is what it sounds like at idle. I low-key need to turn up the idle a little bit because it is really low. That's what it says on the dash, but on the Honda app, I think it's reading like a 0.75. But it is really shaky due to these shitty mounts. But it runs good at high RPMs. It's just at low RPMs, it shakes a lot. Right now, she's still untuned, but hopefully a couple more weeks, I'll post up a video when she's tuned. Right now, it's just been driving it untuned, and rev limits sit pretty low, so I don't fuck nothing up, just in case. So that about wraps up this video, guys. Y'all take it easy and let me know if y'all got any